So Mick, you're back again. It's the fourth time you've been with us in Pod UK. It's great to have you back. I think the first session was with yourself. We just talked about what your offering was all about. I think then we had you with your good friend Liam Farrell and also Josh Charnley separately. But we're back with you, and it's a bit of a catch-up. I'd like to obviously try and find out a bit about what's been going on since we last spoke. So tell me about the sessions that you've got on offer, Mick, now for young athletes.
So starting from next week. So I've been doing these over a number of years now from Robin Park. So I run 2 athletic development sessions.
Yeah.
So they're going to be from Robin Park on a Tuesday and one on a Friday. So they start at 4:45. Both sessions start at the same time, and they're an hour long. And I suppose when we talk about athletic development, people go, "Oh, what is that? Is it athletics?" So what I'm trying to appeal to, Stu, is obviously your team sport athlete predominantly.
I see.
But don't get me wrong, we can have pretty much any athlete who requires speed, power, agility, stability. So there's a lot going into the mix. Our main focus, Stu, is to make those athletes move better, become faster and better agility. That is our aim, if you like, a long-term aim. But when you try and develop those qualities, there's a lot of underpinning things that come in before that. So as you know, we movement's a big thing. Mm-hmm. So making our young athletes move better. So I'll probably just go back a little bit. So the age group we're aiming to appeal to is around 14 to 17, 18 years old.
I was going to ask that,
Yeah. So like I say, main aim for the sessions is movement, speed, agility, power, those top-end qualities that probably most athletes require.
So this is kind of complementing and adding more strings to the bow of the athlete. So they might have skills in their particular sport, and they might be at a particular standard in that sport. But those, to me, seem to be attributes of an athlete, as you put it, that will improve anyone in any sport.
Yeah, 100%. So if you look at, let's take a rugby player.
Yeah.
So obviously they'll have the defensive skills, their attacking skills, the technical skills, the psychology, all sorts of stuff that they'll learn from the coaches.
Yeah.
Then obviously, being a strength and conditioning coach, then we're looking for the physical attributes of that athlete. So let's take, speaking about rugby, so, what does a rugby player need? Well, from a physical point of view, they pretty much need everything. So they'll need good stamina base, or game conditioning, whatever you want to call it, strength, power, agility, speed. And then we start going into the other qualities as well. So reactions, balance, coordination, core strength, so the list is endless, Stu. So,
but the foundations are effectively those points that you've made: strength, power, agility, speed.
Yeah. So, and we focus heavily on the speed and the agility, because ultimately, if you look at an elite athlete, if they're moving quicker than their opponent, so if I can get to the ball quicker than you, so if that's football, whether that's tennis, whether that's hockey, if I can react quicker than you, then that's a massive quality to have.
Yeah,
so if you look at the best performers in the game, they tend to move quicker than other opponents. Now, don't get me wrong, yes, we can look at positions in rugby where, so looking at your Bevan French, your Jay Fields, your wingers, your centres, your fullbacks, they tend to be the ones who heavily reliant on speed. But also your forwards now, your bigger guys, if you can add speed, footwork, agility into their game, you're giving them a whole, different
set of skills.
Give
them the edge.
Because the games now and the money involved in the game and the way the game's going, because you listen to most commentators now, the game's getting faster. The GPS will tell you that.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking for that edge. So if the game's getting faster, we require our individuals to be faster in all positions.
Yes. I think we've just had a similar experience and a big learning curve here, because we've been working with GB Rugby Sevens, and what they're being informed by is a number of factors, not least of all what the audience wants to see, because it's such an exciting form of the game.
Yeah.
So this idea of speed and agility in the GB Sevens, in Sevens rugby, is incredibly important, and we've seen that on the training pitch. We've seen that in how they're developed. So I can recognise what you're saying there, and I totally agree. But in some respects, it seems quite obvious, doesn't it? If you're quicker than your opponent, if you're more agile than your opponent. But I think perhaps a lot of clubs, organisations might be forgiven for focusing on let's teach drills at a certain age, let's teach skills at a certain age. But if you've not got those fundamentals, then perhaps those skills aren't going to give you the edge. Am I right?
The problem you've got now with football, let's stay with rugby, because there's a lot of, so like I've just said about there, if you're a coach and you only see so let's take it your amateur clubs. You might only seen your players for 2 hours a week.
Absolutely.
And then they're playing at a weekend, so it's like, right, I've got 2 hours with them. You're probably not going to spend it too much on the physical elements. You're going to, that 2 hours, I would tell any coach, look, spend it on your skills.
Yeah.
And if you can creep some physical elements into that, then great.
Yeah.
And good coaches will know how to run a drill, but also implement maybe some conditioning in that.
Yes.
That's what your smart coaches do. You know what I mean? They'll rather than going, right, guys, we're going to go over here and we're going to spend all of our hour just running up and down the pitch doing conditioning, which, don't get me wrong, has its place. But if you've only got 2 hours of your athletes a week, then your smart coaches will play skill conditioning games and things like that. What I'm offering is, so if you're playing at your amateur club Mondays and Thursdays, then I'm offering these athletic development sessions through the week that you can drop into.
I see. So we've got two things here then, haven't we? What we've got is the sessions that you're telling me about that are for groups. Twice a week, am I right?
Yeah, so I've had to pick 2 days. Obviously it doesn't suit everyone, so it's a Tuesday and a Friday at the minute.
Okay. And there's how many places available in those?
So I try and
groups?
keep what I've tried to do over the years is keep it quite bespoke. You know what I mean? So 12 to 15 being max. In that group. But what I tend to find is that the athletes that are coming are quite they're very keen and they want to improve. So a lot of the lads who've trained with me over the years, so if you follow me on social media, I've been putting a few posts out recently about some of the players who've been training me over the years, the past 4 or 5 years, and now stepping into Wigan Warriors Academy or Warrington Academy or St Helens Academy. So, I've had a lot of players who've been working with me who are now at Preston North End football team, females as well. I don't want to mention any names, but now, playing on the international scene. So, they've trained me for a long, long time, and now, I'm not saying it's down to me.
No, but they would
we've helped them, educate them along the way.
And they would have started with you at what kind of age, mate?
Well, I started training when I started Positive Performance. We started at Ashfield Park in Standish. You know it. You live up there. So it's a public park, and I had no base at the time. It was during COVID when, I think you remember you could only train athletes 6 at a time. So football teams were ringing me up for rugby teams. Can we train with you? So I said, we'll block them into groups of 6. And what I found very quickly there, that small group mentality, brilliant. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you get 20, 25. It's hard to get that quality across.
So you think that the laser focus group is somewhere between 5 and 15, happy to go up to 15, but those types of groups are where you get the best out of that
100%.
group.
I mean, look, if you're working one-to-one with someone, that's
absolutely,
optimal, you know what I mean? But I think sometimes with young people, they want a little bit of company. So your 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 is great. It's fantastic. You get 4 or 5 in a group. It's brilliant. Obviously, I'm trying to spread it. I do 2 sessions a week. With the groups anyway. We capped it at 15, but I usually the group size are around 10 to 12. You know what I mean?
Well, that's great. So we know we've got these sessions twice a week for these groups of up to and sweet spot of 12. But then when you were just talking about the amateur club scene, be it in any sport, what you've got is a limited amount of time for the coaches of those clubs to be with those young athletes. And so what tends to happen is the skills are being taught. But now what you're offering and what you've been doing recently is working with clubs to provide the service and the training and the insights and the skills that you're offering to those clubs, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess having worked at the highest level, if you like, and academy level as well, it's almost going into a club and giving them some advice about, like I've said to you before, I don't get involved too much with I don't get involved really with the skill side of it. Yeah, during some of my sessions I might get the football out and the rugby ball, and we'll integrate that into some of the speed stuff. But I go in and educate the coaches and obviously the players as well about, look, this is how to warm up. This is how to prevent injuries. Like I said to you before, there's two broad sides to a sport. Then, like I say, your skills will be delivered by the coaches. We as S&C coaches deliver the physical element. Yep. So if you want your players to move better, be quicker, have better footwork, better agility, resilience to injury, get stronger, improve the balance, the list goes on. That's our department.
I see.
So we'll drop into a football club and let's say they've got an hour and a half session. They might say to you, Mick, well, can you come in and do half an hour for us? Do the warm-up, do some athletic movement, do some speed work with them, and then great. And then they'll go off then and do they'll do the football, the hockey, the netball, whatever that session is. A club might want to say, well, look, could you come in and do a full hour for us?
Yeah.
They might say, recently I've got a club who wants me to go and do an hour session every week with them.
I see. Okay.
This is it's an amateur team, but they're a very, very good amateur team, and we want to improve. You know what I mean? So they've seen the benefits of what I can bring to the team.
That's great.
So making the players fitter. So if you look at the amateur game, when the injuries tend to occur, second half of the game.
Yeah.
When the mistakes tend to happen, second half of the game.
Yeah.
And the reason being is fitness levels of amateurs, obviously, drop
start
off.
to wane,
So what they're thinking now is, that they can keep that intensity level up from minute 1 to minute 90 or minute 80 if it's rugby then, Plus as well, reduction of injuries, players becoming more efficient, so they're moving better with some of the techniques and drills we do.
And that gives them ultimately the edge over the competition, doesn't it? Over the opposition.
Well, if you can pick your best 11 or 13 players, whatever sport you're playing, if your players are fit, and not injured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's like, take Wigan Warriors, for example, at the minute. Going into the business end of the season now, you want your best players available for selection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's no different to amateur level. You're going into that playoff or into that cup competition. You want your best, be able to pick from your best 11 players.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do, as long as trying to make them faster, better agility, is obviously we also educate them about things like, well, injury prevention, recovery, when to rest, how to rest, how to warm up, how to cool down, things to do at home. The list goes on, Stu. How much sleep to get. You know what I mean? Because if these athletes want to go to that next level, they want academy places, they want scholarship places, which a lot of them do. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to attract the best talent in the Wigan area. Yeah. All right. So I want to attract the best players from Wigan area, from Leigh, from St Helens, who can come and train with me and get honest, reliable advice. That's all I'm trying to give them. I'm not trying to tell parents, I can make your son or daughter be that, the next, Liam Farrell or next Josh Chaney. But most definitely, they come and train with me, they will get educated and they will improve physically.
Yeah, I think we both know a mutual friend who's benefited from, or his son has benefited from your training. I'll not mention his name, but it'd be great to get those two guys in the podcast and get their opinion on how you've improved this chap's son's performance, his fitness, his strength, his speed, his agility, and so on. So I think we'll perhaps try and do that for next time, Mick. Try and get them in.
I think the big one, Stu, is if you do something often enough, you will improve it. Okay, the person you're talking about, the son of a good friend of mine, he already had, and we noticed it. I noticed it.
Skills.
He already had a talent, a good talent.
Yeah,
so
talent.
Whether you call it was born with it, blessed with it, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, something probably I'm very aware of.
Yeah.
I can watch a game of football or a game of hockey and I go, that player moves well. That player's fast. They've got this quality. I can look at that high-performing player and take them to that next level.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing I've developed, being around sport, it's constantly, seeing young athletes come in. You get to read them, what I mean? You watch them from minute one do an exercise or run or just play the sport, and you can go straight away. And that's what happened. So like I said, the mutual friend, it was basically my son played in the same team as him.
Yeah.
And straight away I was like, God, this guy's got natural abilities, and all we've done is, I don't take any credit for anything, but yes, he's now going to get offered a scholarship place, I believe, and all we've done is help sharpen them tools a little bit better, and
well, from my perspective, what you've said there is that you were able, and I think it comes with the expertise and the experience and the past that you've got. You're able to see the qualities in a player that say that player moves well, that player has a set of skills, has a talent. And I'm assuming that happens in club situations where there may be players with differing levels of ability, but what I guess you're offering levels the playing field where the fitness levels of all are higher, where the strength and agility and speed of all is better, and therefore what you're doing is you're taking whatever skill level and talent they've got and fuel injecting that with strength, speed, agility and power.
See, the thing is, I guess we need to talk, I mean, obviously we could go on lots of different angles with this, is when I talk about speed and movement, we're not talking about sprinting now.
No.
We're not talking about your track sprinter who runs 100 metres in a straight line. So what we've got to realise is, and this is why the movement side of it is so important, is if you take football, rugby, hockey, netball, tennis, they they do run in a straight line quite often, but obviously the qualities in football and rugby is to be evasive.
Yeah.
So it's being able to cut, being able to turn, being able to backpedal, being able to cut quickly and then change direction extremely quickly. Same in tennis. Obviously, the court's a lot smaller than a rugby pitch.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time moving laterally.
Yeah.
And they might only have to accelerate to the ball maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 metres. But the aim of tennis is to get to the ball as quick as you can, isn't it? And return it. So same in football, isn't it? If you look at a striker, they very rarely have the ball at their feet, do they? That long.
They're anticipating, aren't
exactly. They're constantly trying to lose the defender, aren't they? Cut 5 metres that way and then cut back the same way.
Yeah.
And that involves deceleration, movement, balance, coordination. So we talk a lot about acceleration. In change of direction, you've also got to be able to put the brakes on just as effectively. So that's something we have to teach.
Yeah.
So accelerate. So when we're going back to the track sprinter, yes, we do look at some of the biomechanics of a track sprinter because they're very effective at acceleration. But a track sprinter doesn't have to worry about deceleration. Doesn't have to worry about being smashed by 4 defenders in rugby league or rugby union, or worried about a defender coming in to take his legs away.
Yeah.
In football or hockey, So there is lots when we break it down. Those skills, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So each session, like the first few sessions will be right. We're going to learn how to accelerate.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key one. It is a key one. Once we've nailed that and they understand it, right, now we're gonna focus on how to decelerate. So basically, how to put the brakes on.
Yeah.
Once you've nailed that, now we're going to learn how to accelerate, decelerate, and now cut. At 90-degree angle.
Yeah.
So these 3 or 4 sessions of that.
Yeah. So that repetition of that skill, that those sets of drills, are all adding to that individual's ability to have an edge on the opponent. So to my mind, if I'm looking at this as a football club, rugby club, hockey club, tennis, whoever, and I'm thinking about what Mick Turner is going to be offering our club, it's that ability to put a foundation in on top of the skills that we'll be teaching that are specific to that particular sport. So I'm a coach, I'm going to teach the skills specific to the sport. What you're going to do is you're going to come in and either in a one-off session, you could do a little bit of an intro to the principles of it, or in a few sessions you can put together a program that would I guess showcase the foundations of what you offer, or you can do a block of a number of sessions where you're in each week over the course of a season in order to prevent injury, maintain fitness, and maintain strength and speed and agility and all those things. Am I right? Is that what clubs could get from you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's, like I said, there's a lot of things going into the mix there, But yeah, I mean, already over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been into many of the local amateur clubs and, gone in and done, I won't use the term masterclass, but, we've gone in and done sessions appropriate for that age.
Yeah.
So if you're going in, an under-12s team, it's going to be slightly different to probably an under-16. So we tell
so
it
you
for
tailor
age.
It based on
age. But yeah, we can go in. Sometimes a club wants, a different voice to go in and do something different. And I always go to the coaches, look, cherry pick any of these. This is not nothing.
It's a shopping basket.
Exactly.
Of stuff.
I don't. We're all taking from each other, aren't we? You know what I mean? So with social media now and YouTube, of course, we're all looking for new drills and new ideas to freshen our training up. But yeah, I mean, I've gone into football teams, I've worked with them on a one-off session and never gone back in again.
Yeah.
A lot of times a club like me to go in off-season or pre-season and make a 6-week block with them or an 8-week block. It's entirely what that club wants. What I'm tending to find is at the minute, so like I say, my age gap is between 14 to 18 I work with. The reason being that, Stu, is because the players I tend to work with, or the athletes I tend to work with, they tend to be aspiring athletes. So they want to be, they want to go into academies in their chosen sport.
They want to take the next step.
Exactly. Or they want to go into, So what happens is if they tend to go in, well, they're going in at 7 and 8 years old, not even younger, but when they start getting introduced to strength and conditioning, it tends to be around that age. So,
right.
We're giving them that sort of little bit of education and experience of, look, if you want to go to that next level, this is the sort of stuff you need to be doing. They're going to be testing you on this.
Yeah.
So, I've had guys been in it for Manchester United, Manchester City, and they are starting to test them early. So they'll want to know how fit that player is. So it might be a yo-yo test, it might be a bleep test.
Yeah.
They will be doing a counter movement jump. We'll be assessing power.
Yeah.
They'll do a speed test with them. It might be a straight line to assess acceleration, and it'll also be some form of agility test to assess acceleration, deceleration, change of direction. So these are all things that
so they're benchmarking youngsters, aren't they, at an earlier age? And I think you've also mentioned previously about the fact that youngsters are still developing the tendons, ligaments, muscles, bones. Everything is still growing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess if these youngsters aren't guided in the right way, there are maybe more chances of injury. Is that a thing, Mick? Or
I think
at a younger age?
Again, this could be a whole podcast, Stu. We could talk, But yeah, I mean, I guess looking at when I was growing up, what I think for a young player, for a young athlete now who's into sport, there is so much available to them.
Yeah.
So, for example, my son has coming through. He's 16 now, nearly. He's played football. He's played rugby. Yeah. He's played cricket.
Yeah.
And he's played for the school.
Yeah.
So, probably to answer your question there, my probably one of my main concerns is I think you've got to look at your son and daughter as an individual.
Yeah.
You should know when they're tired, when they're fatigued.
Yeah.
You know, when to push them, when maybe to pull back. Because they've also got school on top of that.
Course.
A lot of the athletes aren't working at the minute, going into GCSE years as well. You know what I mean? So they've a lot going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've worked with athletes and I'm, you know, and one of the first things I ask them is, right, okay, what is it you're doing? What does your week look like? So some of them are playing football and rugby.
Yeah.
So they're training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
First question I ask is, when do you rest? When do you do nothing? Because one thing I learned when I was an S&C, you know, at the highest level, first thing I would always plan in is our recovery.
Yeah.
All right. So if we play on a Saturday, Sunday's usually a day off, and then we usually have a day off in the week. I'm not saying this is rule of thumb, but for me, a young athlete, 2 days off a week should be roughly rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Because again, at the minute, I'll get athletes coming in. This is common. Yeah, little Johnny plays on a Monday for his rugby club, and on a Thursday, he does rugby union as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and he does jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he loves a bit of swimming as well.
Yeah, he's learning to swim. And he's got his studies, and he plays for the school, cricket, football, and before you know it, you're going, I'm trying to find one session a week for them to do my stuff.
Yeah.
And
the other nights he's out on the fields, isn't he, with his mates anyway, you know, so there's a lot going on, isn't there?
So as you know, Stu, to improve at something, you have to focus on it.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to make you faster, and you're going off doing, you know, CrossFit and all these other things, and you're going running 10Ks, and it's what you got to realise, it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
You know, so it's the key word here, and I'll probably end on it, is you need a balanced training. I'm a big believer that kids should do multi-sport. They should do lots of different things as much as they can. And it's sometimes hard as a juggling act to fit in what they should and shouldn't do. So, am
I right in saying though, Mick, that the fundamentals that you're coaching into young athletes should help with those that want to do multi-sport, because you're coaching fundamental attributes into these youngsters, aside from the skills that they're taught in the particular sport. So these fundamental attributes will provide a strong foundation for them to be able to do multi-sport.
100%. So if you take acceleration, for example, I teach young athletes how to accelerate. So if you're playing football, tick. If you're playing rugby, tick. If you're playing tennis, tick. Hockey, netball, all team sports, if you can accelerate and get to the ball quicker than your opponent, then surely we teach people how to decelerate. We teach people how to change direction. We teach people how to move.
But also to recover and also to protect themselves.
Well, exactly. So going back to your first question, I probably maybe didn't answer it, is, so if you're doing something every day, don't get me wrong, that's great. But if your athlete or son or daughter is picking up niggles or not recovering, or you know what I mean, or it's having an effect, then you probably have to have a look what they're doing in a week.
Yeah.
You know, don't get me wrong, we all want our sons and daughters and our athletes to improve. But what you got to realise, and I know you train yourself, Stu, so there's lots of things that go into making someone better at something. So yes, we need to train. So, but if I overtrain, then what I want to improve,
it's counterintuitive.
Yeah,
counterproductive.
So if you want to get faster, and every time I put you on the stopwatch, you're not getting faster, you're getting slower, then I need to have a look at something. So the things I need to look at, right, is the training right? So I'll look at that. That's my job. Am I training this person right? All right, so I might be able to tick that. Then I asked, okay, what are we doing this week or this month? And on the so-called rest day, they're doing swimming, they're doing whatever. Then I might need to say to you, Stu, right, well, we need to add these rest days in, Stu.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're not recovering, then you're not improving as well.
Yeah.
Then we need to have a look at the nutrition as well, don't we?
Yeah.
again. So again, having worked in high performance as a strength and conditioning coach, you know, you can't train in the red every day. You know, so yes, on one day you might go, right, I'm going hard here. This is going to be a big session. Then the next day needs to be a lighter day.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can go 2 in the red. Then obviously the next day needs. So again, this is another.
Yeah, but that's it. It's almost another set of eyes on a group of athletes, isn't it? Because if you've got a club, and in that club setting, with the best one in the world as a coach, I'm coaching them skills and I'm teaching them as a group, I may not pick up on what is happening for these individuals. You're effectively that extra set of eyes who, at sessions, might be there to observe for certain sessions, on top of the sessions where you're there to actually train these attributes into young people. So if you're then there noticing, well, little Johnny there, he's actually, he's getting slower this week, struggling this week. Well, what's happened, John? You can pick up on some of the nuances that perhaps, you know, arguably we could be guilty of missing because we're in the club thinking about that group mentality of skills training. So I believe from where I'm looking at this, to have your input into a club setting can only be advantageous for that club, for the individuals within it, and then ultimately for the collective performance of that team.
Yeah, 100%. You know, like I say, my role when I was working professional sport, that was our role as S&C coaches. You're not just there to do the gym session and the fitness and the mobility and that side of it. You're also looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So you're liaising with the head coach, all the coaches, and maybe having a look of the workload of the team and individuals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's different in an amateur setting because, like I say, you know, they could be training twice a week for football, but then you could have some players who don't play another sport, and where you've got other players who are playing rugby union, rugby league, swimming. So within that team setting, you could have a player doing something every night, and then maybe another few players who are just doing those 2 sessions. You know,
So for you at the moment, then, mate, you are working with clubs, working with individuals on 2 particular days of a week. What does the week look like for you in terms of what you want to get? What is the work that you want to attract now? You know, how can anyone get in touch with you? How do clubs get in touch with you? And just give me an idea of where you want to take this, how it wants to be shaped, and what you want to offer in terms of clients. Tell me about that.
Well, clients can work with on a multiple. So they can actually work one-to-one. I do take one-to-one clients. I do have a few. I don't take a lot on, obviously, because you know, working one-to-one is great, but obviously it's quite time restrictive when you've got. So we work in small groups as well. So that's obviously the Tuesday and the Friday. So they're obviously running from Robin Park, and what I'm looking for with those 2 sessions, it's open to anyone really within that age category of 14 to 17, if you like, and it's open to girls and boys as well. And if anything, we are actually looking to push more girls into the program, just because of the nature of, or the elevation of the sport for females. I mean, it's massive. You know, so
there's more and more young girls, women getting involved in these contact sports, including football, rugby, etc.
And I've actually just finished a block working with the Warriors ladies first team with Dennis Betts, and helped them out. Probably did maybe a dozen sessions for them. So that was a great challenge. But I mean, the 2 sessions there on a Tuesday and a Friday, I just love working with aspiring athletes. So whether they play football, rugby, hockey, netball, even tennis, you know, they're welcome to these sessions.
So am I right in saying that it could be a coach of a young athlete, a coach of a club with a collection of young athletes, or a parent who might come to you to inquire about their son, daughter getting involved in one or both of those 2 weekly sessions down at Robin Park, how do they do that, Mick? Do they get in touch through the website? Or
So obviously we've got the website, so people can go on there and book direct. So there's a link on there, and obviously read the information. Let's have a, and what we're running at the minute is it's a 7-week program.
Mm-hmm.
So it's starting next week, and it's 7 sessions,
Okay.
7 1-hour sessions, and that'll take us up to. I try and work it in between the school holidays, so that'll take us up to half term in October.
I see. Okay.
And then obviously we usually have the holidays off, and then we'll run probably another program up to Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, they can get hold of me on Instagram, Positive Performance, Facebook.
Yeah.
They can ring me direct if they really want.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned way, text me, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have the website, and they can actually book a place direct on that.
Yeah. I mean, what we'll probably do is we'll probably put somewhere here the URL for the web address, so you can get in touch, and maybe even if Mick will allow it, we'll give you a direct contact number for him.
Yeah, sure.
And that way, anyone who does wants to get booked into these sessions can find you online.
Perfect.
I'm really pleased for you in terms of the progress that you're making, the what you're offering to these young people. I think is an edge, and I think it's clearly making sense for a lot of clubs and a lot of young people. So I wish you all the very best with the next set of sessions, and also with the work with amateur clubs as well.
Thank you, Stu. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, mate.
Thank you, Paul.